regardless of what anybody says. I hold my creative autonomy. I value that more than anything in this world. So it's like, I love music. I love comedy. I have surrounded myself with amazing, genuine, talented people who are just about that as well. I live with, the keyboard player and producer of my band. He's in the next room over. I live with, my friend like who I do comedy with and I produce shows with. So everything just comes together and it's like I'm able to do everything at once. And I think like as long as I'm able to create what I want to create, as long as I know I have an audience, as long as I know like I have a place to perform, I know there's people gonna be there. I'm good. Yeah. And it's like I'm gonna exploit that.
Welcome to Pinnacle Code, where we spotlight excellence in the culture. I'm your host, Ben Arthur, excited to be joined by my guy, Alex Asifo. This is a guy I met at the National. So there's for those of you maybe who are journalists, Black journalists out there, you know of NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists. And they have an annual convention every year. And so Alex and I met at this convention in Las Vegas back in 2022, and he just had really good energy, and know that he kind of told me about how he was doing like a lot of like audio production work and whatnot. But then as we started like following each other and whatnot, I just saw that he had so many other talents. Like he does stand-up comedy, he raps, he he has a band called 10 Issues. He does so many different things, has awesome content, particularly on Instagram, TikTok. I mean, he's doing a lot of cool things and super excited to have him on the platform. Alex, thank you so much for joining the show, and how's everything been?
Oh my God, my God. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad to see, you're starting something like this and have a conversation with a bunch of, amazing people that are doing cool things. And thank you for thinking of me that, as a person that does cool things.
Yeah.
But it's cool on my side. I'm in New York City right now. Um, so I'm just cool in the apartment. Just been doing some writing workshops all day, recording, and then gonna do some more shooting after this. So
Yeah.
it's a good day, you know.
Yeah, no, that's what's up, and we'll kinda get into, like, the specific things you do, like, each of them, but let's kinda start at the beginning, Alex. To my understanding, if I remember correctly, you're from Maryland, right?
Yeah, from DMV. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
from the DMV.
Yeah.
So, what do people need to know about your upbringing in Maryland to understand who you are as a person today?
Yeah. I mean, it was like I grew up in a very diverse sort of background. Was like in Maryland, it's like I first grew up in PG and like which is Prince George's County, which is like one of, the blackest counties in America of just like high achieving black people. So you're just seeing just tons of greatness everywhere. But then I moved to Columbia, Maryland, and Columbia, Maryland was like initially built as a safe haven for interracial couples. So I grew up in just a very diverse town where you're just meeting people from like all walks of life, whether it's, whether like they're Asian, white, or Middle Eastern, or, just so many different backgrounds and cultures that I haven't like really appreciated until now, where I was just like, oh yeah, like I grew up with them because like I just grew up with them.
Yeah.
Um, and now I have just like that appreciation and for like different people's like views and like how they see the world. And that's always like pushed me to like travel, like want to find out how people create art and why they think that way and why they create their art that way.
Yeah. Yeah, being in an environment like that growing up, Alex, and you spoke about PG County at first, like being around like a lot of successful, high achieving black people, and that's probably as you've come to learn as you've gotten older, that's a lot of environments around the country aren't like that. Like that's kind of the big reason why I'm starting this podcast is because I did not see the diversity of black success. I mean, I grew up and a lot of people who listen to my show will know like grew up in a suburb of Seattle, Washington, that was largely white and Asian. And even Seattle itself is not a city with a large Black population, so I didn't really see, like, Black business people or Black lawyers, and, like, I didn't really see all that around me, so I'm curious, being in an environment where that was kind of the norm for you, who are your biggest influences, within that? Like, those who maybe looked like you, like, who are your
Uh,
biggest influences in that regard?
yeah. I mean, at the same time, it's like I grew up in, a very diverse town. There's still like a lot of instances where I was like the only Black kid like in my classes, like even in college, But I'd say just like growing up, the different sort of role models that I had were like, I mean, of course, my parents and my older brother, but I think I was also surrounded by a lot of great mentors and coaches when I was in high school. One of them being is his name is Mr. James, Mr. Vincent James. He was the head of the Alpha Achievers, and it was like an academic organization all over Howard County. They're like in all the schools now, but started at the high school that I went to. But he was just like a great mentor and like life leader and coach and teacher in general. And it was just like an academic organization like built for Black men, or like Black students in general to, go on like different trips and like lead fundraisers and like do things to sort of like uplift and help each other out and, just build a bond, you know, of like, hey, these are the top guys to look for in this school. And they're doing great things in the community and they're going to go on to do even more great things. So just like being a part of that creed and having that leader in Mr. James really just taught me so much in life.
I know your parents are from Ghana, you have Ghanaian roots, kinda like me. I think that was one of the things we bonded over, um,
Yeah.
when we met, just knowing that we kind of have ties to Ghana. How did that maybe knowing that you had that in your blood, like, in your background, how did that maybe influence your upbringing and maybe how you navigated growing up in Maryland?
Yeah. Well, so my mother's American. She grew up in
Okay,
Baltimore. So I have you know, my family that grew up in America in Baltimore, and then my dad is from Ghana. So I
okay.
have, that side. So I have family in America, family in Ghana, and then some of the family in Ghana also moved to England. So I have just a ton of family in all three different places. And I think the beauty of that is just like being Black American and having that background is just like, all right, here is the sort of home pride that you have. And here's like what your family has built thus far to give you that confidence, and just sort of like familiarity of just like here is like what you've been able to accomplish in America. In terms of like the Ghanaian roots, is just like a certain pride that you can't explain. You can only just like inherit, you know? Um, and just seeing that and also just being like, okay, there's a whole world beyond just like my community, a whole world just beyond, Maryland, the DMV, the United States, so I like that's always like opened my mind to like there's more and you can always just achieve more. Like don't think local, think global, and that's where your hustle should be and that's where your mindset should be, and just different sort of just installments of pride, whether they're from like my American roots, like from my Ghanaian roots, which is beautiful all around, even the ones across the pond in England,
From an I'm curious, from an were you always maybe did you always maybe feel accepted or maybe comfortable in that identity knowing that you're Black American, right? But there are kind of multiple facets to you, right? Just because of those roots you have. Because like I think I could better explain this from my perspective. Just because both of my parents were born and raised in Ghana. So like I grew up in an African household.
yeah,
And then here I am growing up in, you know, the outskirts of Seattle where, okay, like I'm around like predominantly maybe white and Asian people, but like I played a lot of basketball growing up. So I ended up playing around a lot of like Black Americans and whatnot. but like I never fit in with them either, right? Because I grew up in a household that's kind of African, right?
Mhm.
But my family's from Ghana, but I never felt super connected with them because, like, when I'd go to Ghana as a kid, it's like, oh, well, he's American. But then, like,
Yeah.
here, that, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like here, like the Black Americans think, oh, you know, you're kind of different. You kind of talk like the white kids or whatever. But then, like, the white kids were like, well, you know, like, you play basketball, like, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, no, of course.
just for you, like, the fact that, you know, part of you, like, Black American, right? But then the other part, like, with ties to Ghana, like, how was it always easy for you, like, being, like, your authentic self? I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like, was it always easy for you to kinda embrace the fullness of your identity, or was that maybe something you had to work through as you got older and grew up?
Yeah, no, I think it definitely took a while. I mean, especially like when you're going through school, like you just want to fit in. I'd say like I was fortunate to grow up um like very Black American, but then also Ghanaian because like the DMV is also just like a hub for Ghanaian. So like, me and my dad, we'd always go to like African parties and I'd be hanging out with like other like Ghanaian kids and like, you just hang out there while like all the adults were upstairs and then get food. And that was just like all the time, you know? But also just like feeling that way too, where it's like you just live just like in a sea of whiteness and you're trying to like fit in and you're like, okay, all right, I know I don't fit in as a Black kid, but then, you might have like the other Black kids like, all right, this guy's too white for us, whatever that means. And
Yeah,
then,
whatever that means, yeah.
yeah, and then like for the white kids, like, all right, this guy is also Black, where you get certain things that people say where you're just like, what is well, like, what is wrong with you, you know? So, it's a sort of in between phase where it's like you have a sort of identity crisis, and I don't think it was until college that, like, I think I really embraced my Ghanaian side, um, and I think that was mostly from a sort of cultural resistance, you know? And also just like being around a lot more Ghanaians and a lot more just like Africans in general, like more
Mhm.
Black people in general. Like I wasn't, at the mercy of just like my school and just like people I just like grew up with. I could build my community more and it was more for me. So I think like once I got to college, like I was just like, all right, my identity as like a Black American, as a Ghanaian is like, this is who I am, and like this is what I'm gonna embrace. Um, regardless of like how white these corporate spaces might be, how white these, whatever spaces might be.
Yeah,
Because, you know, some people, some people gonna like you, some people not gonna like you, and some others just might not care. So I might as
for
well just
sure.
be me.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. And, so, you know, as I kinda said it in the introduction, like, you do so many different things, right? Um, you rap, you do comedy, you have a band, I see all your stuff on Instagram, like, where I think some of the recent stuff you've done is, like, where you'll kinda go out into like, I've seen, like, a couple clips you do where
Yeah.
in the streets or whatever, and, like, you have a couple of other I think maybe they're your friends or part of your group, and you guys will do these skits or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there was one where, like, you were going home with a girl and,
Yeah.
led you into the apartment, and then, like, your homeboy was, like, trying to rob her, like, all these
Yeah.
kinds of things. But where I was going that is, uh like, how do you maybe try to balance all of kinda your talents and maximize all of them at the same time while you're pursuing all of them simultaneously? Like, why is it so important for you to be so, like, broad in your creativity, if that makes sense? Because I think we've all seen people where it's like, rapping is my thing, acting is my thing, producing is my thing, but it seems like or comedy is my thing. It seems like you're doing all of those things. Why is it important for you to express yourself that way?
Yeah. I think it's just a thing of yeah, I think it's just a thing of like I just don't want to like I was told this a long time ago, like, don't die full, or it's like, where's the richest place on earth? And they say like it's in the grave with all like the movie scripts that were never, turned to actual films, all the songs that were never written or recorded, all the jokes never told, just all the ideas, businesses that never came into fruition. So it's like for me, it's like, look, these are things that I like to do. And it's like, regardless of what anybody says, I hold my creative autonomy. uh, I value that more than anything in this world. So it's like, I love music. I love comedy. I have surrounded myself with amazing, genuine, talented people who are just about that as well. And especially like being in New York, like it's so concentrated. Like I live with, the keyboard player and producer of my band. He's the next room over. I live with, my friend like who I do comedy with and I produce shows with. So everything just comes together and it's like I'm able to do everything at once. I think that's the beauty of it. And, sometimes things might take precedent over the other, which I'm fine with. Or I might just be like, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. And it's like, I think this is what I want to express in this moment
Mm,
over, you know, maybe another discipline or like maybe like over another craft, you know. And I think like as long as I'm able to create what I want to create, as long as I know I have an audience, as long as I know like I have a place to perform, I know there's people going to be there, I'm good, you know.
yeah.
And it's like I'm gonna exploit that.
So is there maybe one of your talents that you maybe love the most? Or is it or would you say, like, you kinda love all these things equally? Like, how do you maybe, like, rank them if you even look at it that way?
Yeah. Because the thing is, like, I don't even know, like, they have different things. Like, if I do like a concert or, if I'm doing music, it's gonna give me a different feel than if I'm doing stand-up comedy. Um, so for me to like place one over the other, it's like
It's tough.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's like
Yeah.
picking like between like your children. I mean,
Yeah,
some
okay.
people have a favorite, but but they have like different purposes, where it's like I think with music, uh, it's just a lot more of how I feel, and just like maybe a lot more of like my raw emotions or the way like I want to describe things. Like maybe if I'm like, if I'm feeling like the man in the moment, I might not say it, in terms of comedy, because I might have like another way to say that. But in music, I know I can say it. I know I can, rap about something about traveling or something like that,
Yeah.
or just like when it comes to comedy, I might have like a joke that's on my mind. And it's like, I don't want to put this over music. Like, I feel like this is an idea I want to share, with people, like an observation that I have, or like maybe like something that I went through, uh, or like a funny, sad experience. It's like, I want to share that with the world in this way. So I think it's like how you choose to package things. It's like, all right, I want to package it this way.
Knowing that you have so many different creative pursuits and ventures that you're doing, how do you maybe, uh balance those things? Like, are you maybe trying to dedicate an equal amount of time to, like, all those gifts you have? Or is it really, like, just, like, how you're feeling each day or each week? Like, how does that process maybe go in your head?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, I know like I'll definitely like get into a pocket where like my mind is just like more music. And then it's like I may like get into a pocket where it's just like, all right, I'm just writing a ton of, jokes and a ton of material. But I think one thing that helps a lot is that I think I have a great team of just like people and a great team of friends around me, like friends who like I know are like are always shooting, as I said before, my roommate Tim, he's always cooking up beats. So it's like I can just pop into the next room and then we can make a song like 30 minutes or something like that. I know my boy John is down the hall and he's always working on shows and always like writing material and just, completely consistent with it. So that keeps me inspired. That keeps me like always wanting to work. So and it also like just makes things easier just to be like, all right, like it might not even feel like it's all on me. It's like, okay, I can just jump in and then like I'm right back to everything. And then, we have the platform to do what we want to do. So at the same time, it's like we create our own opportunities, and the things that we create are pretty dope, that people want to
Mm.
come out to the shows and be a part of. So it's like, with me and Tim, we do like these So Far Sound concerts and they sell out every time. And it's like me and John, we produce these comedy shows. They sell out every time. So it's like being able to like have a great team and like produce dope content and dope material that people want to be a part of and want to see, that just keeps the gears turning of like ideas, like what we want to do next. And it's not just, those two that I have around me, but just like other genuine, just talented people that always want to see you win, like always want to hold you accountable, keep you on top of your game, you know? Um,
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's 24 hours. There's not enough time. So, it gets tiring, but I think the adrenaline and kind of the excitement always just keeps you going.
Alex, when you talk about like selling out shows or and stuff like that. I think so many that there are a lot of like creative people out there, but it's hard for them to like channel it into like a brand that you've created, right? And I guess what advice would you maybe give to people like concrete, like tangible advice to like start monetizing, like, their talent, like, what are maybe some of the steps that you've taken or and are maybe still taking to put yourself in a position to where, like, you're doing this full time? And,
Yeah.
how does that process work for you? What are some of the roots that you have in place to set yourself up for, like, a future like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you just gotta just sort of want it for yourself. I mean, even just like growing up, I mean, my dad is always like, and I didn't realize that like I was the only one like this. So like I was with my cousins over the holidays, and it's like, oh, if we took this to Ghana, we you know what I mean? Where it's like
Mm.
we have to enterprise literally everything that we do, which is sometimes like awesome, but sometimes like, damn, I just can't enjoy something. Like if I become good at knitting, I gotta make sure I got a knitting company that's coming up and we're selling and we got like, an LLC going. So I've always thought of, my passions that way because it's like, you know, so many people who are also like really not that talented are out here making money just because they said this is worth something, you
Back.
know? And it's like I never like really wanted to be one of those people who are just talented and not making no money. And at the end of the day, like, it's not about the money, which, like, it isn't, but it's like, I'm a damn sure make some while I'm here because somebody else is gonna do it, and it's probably not as good as what I'm doing. So it's like, you should go and monetize what you do because why not? People will buy it, people want to. It's like, if I see somebody doing something that I think is cool or doing something that like, oh man, I can't do that, I'm gonna buy into that because I believe in that. So I think it's like, no matter how hard we are on ourselves as creatives, monetize what you do because you never know like who might like really resonate with what you have going on in your product. Um, and it's like, hey, like you can do this. Just you just gotta like believe in your product, believe in the dopeness that you have, and get it pushing. You know. Um, so I think that's what it is to me. It's like, look, we gotta monetize this, and it's like it's not like it's global. No, I mean, it's not like it's local. It got to be global. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So yeah, let's kinda get into that a little bit. So, uh, I know you do audio production, right? So, it for now, like, is that, like, what pays most of the bills right now so you can like really build up the other creative ventures, or or is everything you're doing contributing to you being able to live and do your thing? Like how exactly, because sounds like you have really big aspirations, right? Like you've said global multiple times, right? So I can tell like you have really high aspirations for yourself and what you're trying to do. But as for right now, like what does that look like? Is audio production like your quote unquote day job, and then you're doing like the music and the comedy thing on the side, or like how does all that work for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's my day job. I mean, I can't say too much about my job, but, I mean, it's my day job, but it's also, like, one of my passions. Like, I've been working in audio. My first job was at, a radio station, WAMU. I was interning at 1A in DC. It was an NPR show, and just been in audio ever since. And like that is literally one of my passions. Like I love audio production. I love producing, and it's
Mhm,
like I also got to do some of that at NPR, and it was like some of the most fulfilling work I've ever done in my life. So to be able to have like a day job right now that like I completely just love and am in love with and work with talented, amazing people, it also gives me the freedom to, work from wherever I want and also just like do whatever I want. Where it's like, look, I mean, in March, I'm gonna go to England, do some shows, hang out, but then also just like work from there. And
mhm,
it's like that's the freedom that I'm rewarded. Um, but it's like I've also taken off time or just like just left during the day, just like go and shoot a commercial and then, come back, do some work and then go and do some shows in the night. So
yeah.
I've I've been very grateful to like have something that like I love everything all across the board. As they're like, oh, I gotta clock in this today. Blah, 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 blah. No, it's like this is something like I genuinely love as like a passion of mine, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
it's something that I rock with, and it complements everything else that I do.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love that because because a lot of times when you hear like of people like maybe pursuing other things like on the side, it's like they're just putting up with the job, right? Until they can like make the other things what they do full time. But it looks like from what you're saying, like you really love what you're doing with the audio stuff, and it actually helps everything else you're doing, right? And so there isn't really any drawbacks to kind of like the system you have right now. Um, so to kind of build off of that though, Alex, and again, like the global theme, like what exactly is your vision for yourself? Like what do you want to become knowing that you dabble in multiple creative ventures?
Yeah. I think the most important thing for me is creative autonomy, and just always expanding my mind. So it's like I feel good as long as I can wake up. I'm able to create the things that I want to create the art that I want to create. I can perform anywhere I want to. And it's like I went to London a couple years ago and I was doing some shows out there, and this lady just hit me up. She was like, "Hey, do you want to come and do some shows in Germany?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was possible." I mean, like I had to go back to the States, before I could do that. So I couldn't do it. But I was like, wow, you can just go to Germany and, just meet people out there. They're like, oh yeah, no, you can do some shows in Spain, Belgium, da 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 da. And I was just like, what? You can like do all these things that's just doable. Like it just opened my brain up. So it's like even when I went to Japan
Oh,
back
you
in
went to
October.
Japan too? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I was able to do a couple shows at the Tokyo Comedy Club, and that was, like, another amazing experience was, like, you get to travel the world and, play at, like, all these different places and see, like, all these different cultures. I think, like, that's something that, like, I see myself in the future is, like, look, if we can just hop on a plane, go anywhere around the country, around the world, and just perform, that's it right there. And not even to be like, I think the idea of doing it and the action of doing it is most important than like, I need to hit this, you know, milestone or like I need to like get this one thing. And then I'll be good. But for me, it's just like a continuation
Yeah.
of the idea and the value um, that like you withhold, you know, because you're more you find joy in the process of doing, and you're not finding joy in just the result, you know.
Yeah. Yep. No,
So,
I yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's all about, like, the journey and not the destination, right? It's like the same kinda concept and, like, the person you're becoming along the way and not necessarily that final result, right? Because if you get there, then it's like, what then, right? That's not maybe necessarily the point. So I kinda love that you're saying that. But and you've talked a lot, like, about, like, creative autonomy, right? Like, that seems like seems to be, like, your mission. So, like, what inspired what inspired that to, like, be, like, your mission? What was it something you learned from your parents? Something someone taught you or showed you growing up?
yeah, I mean, I think I feel like one thing that I've just seen is just like I would see people, talented people, just get these certain opportunities and like, you know, they'd be cool, but like they still like wouldn't be happy. And they'd be like, "Hey, you're not happy like that you got X, Y, and Z." And it's kind of just like, you know, um, or just like reading about different shows like, how In Living Color was, and it's like a lot of people trying to like co-opt their ideas or, try to co-opt a lot of different creatives' ideas. And it's just like, you see these people at the top and they're still not happy and they're still being sort of controlled by something, you know? And that's why I was just like, look, as long as you're able to like keep control, I feel like that's like the most important thing for like any artist is like creative autonomy to just go out there and just create because that's what you got in it for. It's like that's what most likely got you to like where you are. And that's why I value that more than anything because like, look, I'm in a very privileged position to be able to wake up and like live with my best friends, go out in New York City, work a job, have food to eat, and then be able to like perform in the night doing music and comedy and other stupid stuff. So it's like, if I'm going to do it, I might as well just like hold this, close to my heart and not let anybody try and like, you know, ruin it or co-opt it. Um, just cause like, if you try to take that, you are literally taking like my life away from me. And it's like, look, I'm not going to let you eat my food. And I will fight for it tooth and nail, you know? So,
It sounds like you've very much, like, learned from either the shortcomings or, like, the pitfalls or struggles of, like, other people. It sounds like you're an observer, right? And that has kinda maybe informed, like, your mission of creative autonomy. Am I, like, right on that? It seems like you just kinda see, "Oh, like, that didn't work for that person," or, "I see the way they feel right now, and I don't want that to be kinda what I feel."
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like, certain just like personal shortcomings where you're just like, dang, um, where people try to co-opt your dreams. It's like that one J. Cole line where he was like, if they don't know your dreams, then they can't shoot them down, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, so, there's that just like wanting to like hold what you love, the most, holding that to your heart and trying to protect that. Um, but then, yeah, also just like learning from people, like learning from the world that's around you and just like paying attention and like also just being self aware. And it's like, look, I've failed millions and trillions of times and I've been fortunate to learn from them, correct them, and make sure that they don't happen, even for like other people, and just trying to like tell other people about it. So I think that's one thing that um, I've cherished just like along this journey. So it's like if I can learn from something, I'm gonna learn from it, and I'm gonna earn from it. Take my turn from it. All right,
That
that's
oh, man,
but
that's a
no,
poem.
no, no, it's like no, but yeah, and then at the end of the day, it's like just to like have fun and like not take yourself too serious because it's like you know, it's like you're creating your art, and some people are just like very insecure about it, which is like, but we're all artists. artists are very insecure. So it's like, hey, do the thing that you do. Um, but yeah, just like share it with the world, be genuine, you know, don't be a bad person. Don't take yourself too serious. Because like we're all just here to have fun and just share ideas.
Going off of that, like, theme of insecurity real quick, like, have you ever had a moment, like, where you've wanted to quit, like, your artistic ventures and maybe do something more, like, quote, unquote, "traditional," right? Because as you said, like, the process, the journey you've been on as a creative, I mean, there's a lot that can come with that, right? So, like, has there ever been a point or a failure, a very public failure that you've had to where it almost made you quit?
No. Yeah, no. I mean, there are like times where I've just been like upsetted by a lot of things.
Yeah,
Or maybe it was just like politics from something where it's like, I mean, I've performed at like a couple like comedy competitions where it's just like, I might have just had like the best set and then I don't get picked. And then the people like who do get picked are like, look, I don't know what happened, but I was just like, look, I'm not going to quit because at the end of the day, like this is like my life, you know? So it's just like, this is not the one thing that I live for. It's like, I've seen the world, I mean, I haven't seen too much of the world. I got to go and travel some more, but it's like, like the world is so big, you travel, you go to like, I don't know, I mean, even like you go to Ghana, it's like people not think about what's going on at this comedy club in North Carolina or something like that. You go somewhere, and by the time you get there, you're not even thinking about them. You're not even thinking about that no more. You're just like, oh wow, this is beautiful, and look at like how these people are living, and like look at how these people think. So it's just like, wow, why am I just like so consumed with myself when I can simply just remove myself and just create my own opportunities, with people that genuinely want to see me win and people that like what I do, want to keep on following me and, what's like, see like what I have going on next,
yeah.
just where I can just live in a bubble of my own support.
Alex, kinda winding down here, where can people, like, follow you? Keep tabs on, like, what you're doing, in terms of, like, social media and whatnot? Like, where can people find your work?
You can follow me on IG at Alex Asifo. That's AlexAsifo. I'll be posting like, all the different sketches that I do there. I'll be posting, different comedy shows that I'm doing. I'll be posting comedy clips, all the music that I do. I'll be posting, different freestyles that I do. I'll be posting new music that's coming up. Um, you know, New music that we're about to drop. I have my band's page that's at 10 issues underscore at 10 issues. And then if you're in New York, I have a dope comedy production called NYC Shakedown. So follow NYC Shakedown. We post memes too, if y'all like memes. And it's like, yeah, that's the movement. And been fortunate enough that a lot of people want to buy into it. So it's like, we're gonna keep on doing it.
That's what's up. And for all of you listening, all that will be in the show notes, so please be sure to tap in with my guy. But, I have to ask you about tennis shoes real quick. Like, is that that play on words is probably intentional, right? Like tennis shoes? Like,
Yeah.
how did that name come about exactly? I'm curious.
Honestly, I was taking a nap and they were like, they were coming up with like names in the group chat, and the drummer was just like, how about tennis shoes? Like tennis shoes, haha. And then everyone's like, yo, that's actually a cool name. He was like, oh, damn, I wasn't serious, but okay. And then just stuck,
No,
you know.
that's lit.
Yeah.
That's dope, bro. Awesome, awesome. Uh, Last one for you, Alex. What does Black success mean to you?
um, Black success to me is not only succeeding yourself, but also uplifting other people, other Black people to succeed with you. So, it's a continuation. It doesn't just stop with you. It's about helping all of us out and setting a great example and just being your authentic self. So succeeding yourself, but then also putting other people in position to succeed as well.
Paying it forward. I love it.
That's what I'm saying.
Awesome. Everyone, this has been Alex Asifo, the multi-talented audio producer, musician, artist, um, comic. You can tap in to Pinnacle Code on. Please be sure to first of all, please be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube, but you can also find the show on Instagram, on TikTok, on X. I'm across all platforms. So I really
Yes, man.
appreciate you guys tuning in and for listening. But until next time, I will see you guys soon. And thank you so much, Alex Asifo. Appreciate
Good
you,
man,
bro.
man. Thank you for having me, dog. I
Appreciate
appreciate
you,
it.
man. All right, y'all.
All right. Take care.